Dogs given electric shocks they couldn't escape eventually stopped trying to escape at all, even after someone opened the door. This is the buried root of depression, and you probably know someone still lying down in front of an open door. There was a period in your life, maybe it's happening now, where you tried something repeatedly and it didn't work. You applied and got rejected. You communicated and weren't heard. You worked hard and got no result. And at some point, the trying stopped. Not because you made a conscious decision to quit, but because something changed in how your brain was processing the relationship between your actions and their outcomes. That internal shift from what I do matters to nothing I do matters is not pessimism. It's a learned response. And understanding what produces it and what breaks it is one of the most practically important things you can do with psychology. Learned helplessness is a psychological state that occurs when an organism, human or animal, has repeatedly experienced uncontrollable negative events, and as a result loses the ability to act effectively even when control later becomes possible. The concept was discovered by Martin Seligman and Stephen Maier in the late 1960s, and it fundamentally changed how psychologists and psychiatrists understood depression. Before Seligman, depression was primarily understood as a deficit of neurotransmitters, of motivation, of will. After his work, it could also be understood as a learned cognitive state, one that the brain develops in response to the repeated experience of helplessness. In 1967, Seligman and Maier conducted a series of experiments with dogs that are now foundational in psychology, though deeply uncomfortable to read. Dogs were placed in a harness and exposed to electric shocks they could not escape or avoid. A control group received no shocks. A second group received shocks they could stop by pressing a panel. The first group, the helpless group, received the same shocks as the second, but their panel had no effect. Then all three groups were placed in a different environment, a shuttle box with a low barrier they could jump over to escape future shocks. The control group and the panel pressing group quickly learned to jump the barrier and escape. The group that had experienced inescapable shock, the ones who had learned that nothing they did had any effect, did not try. They lay down. They stopped moving. They had learned that their actions didn't change outcomes. Even when escape was right in front of them, the expectation of helplessness prevented them from attempting it. That expectation didn't lift automatically. It persisted even in the new environment, even when the conditions had fundamentally changed. Seligman extended the learned helplessness model to human depression, and the parallels are precise. Depression is characterized, among other things, by a pervasive sense that one's actions do not affect outcomes. That effort is pointless. That help is unavailable. That the situation is permanent, global, and personally caused. Seligman and Abramson later refined this into attributional style theory. The idea that it's not just the experience of helplessness that produces depression, but the way the brain explains the helplessness. People who explain bad events as permanent, it will always be this way, pervasive, everything in my life is affected, and personal, it's because of who I am, are most vulnerable to learned helplessness and depression. But the model extends beyond clinical depression. It shows up in students who have failed enough times that they stop engaging in school. In employees who have been ignored or dismissed enough times that they stop contributing ideas. In people in relationships where their needs have gone unmet long enough that they stop expressing them. The common thread is the experience of repeated uncontrollable negative outcomes, and the brain's inference that effort is futile. Seligman discovered that learned helplessness in animals could be broken by forcibly moving the animal through the escape behavior, physically guiding the dog over the barrier, until it learned that its actions could affect outcomes. The experience of control, even if it began as forced, could rebuild the expectation of agency. In humans, the process is more complex, but follows the same logic. The restoration of a genuine sense of agency. This happens through small, concrete wins, actions that produce visible outcomes, that rebuild the internal model of what I do matters. Cognitive behavioral therapy works partly through this mechanism, challenging the permanent, pervasive, personal attributions that maintain learned helplessness, and rebuilding the connection between action and outcome through behavioral activation. Starting with small actions, getting feedback that they worked, slowly reconstructing the expectation of agency. If you've stopped trying in a relationship, a career, a goal, and you don't fully know why, it's worth asking whether the stopping is a rational assessment of the current situation or a learned expectation from previous situations that resembled this one. Because the brain generalizes. The helplessness learned in one context can transfer to another. The door might be open now. The barrier might have changed. Your brain's model of the situation might not yet have updated. And the first act of agency, the first small try, is sometimes the only thing that can begin to show it otherwise. Drop a comment. Is there an area of your life where you've stopped trying without fully deciding to? No details needed. Subscribe, new psychology breakdown every week.